Yes. Okay, so look at it for a minute. Find it. So, but basically, it just demonstrates in a diagram the underlying principle of anatomy of peace, that, we, in any moment, we're either open to seeing and communicating with people around us as real people, or we are disposed to see them as objects, in other words, as labeled things. So I don't know, I guess nobody here saw the movie on Wednesday, but there was did you see it, Lisa? No. Okay. So there was an older woman sitting at a bus stop, and a bunch of kids came by, and they bumped her and then made fun of her, and they were clearly not seeing her as a person. They were seeing her as an old lady with a label. When you see someone and you think of them not as a person, but as an example of a whole group of people, you are basically in the heart at war stance. Peace comes when we understand that the other person, the other being, can suffer and has feelings. And then we're kind of one-on-one with them. We're not, standing here and looking at them and going, oh, that's a whatever. That's someone from Afghanistan. That's a kid. That's an old person. That's somebody from whatever the next town is. When you look at somebody and you think that's a whatever, you're labeling them and you're not seeing them. So that is the definition of a heart at war. And whenever we see the person as someone who has suffered, someone who can suffer, someone who has feelings, our heart becomes at peace. And then we can say, okay, so we now have a heart at peace. And everybody in the world, in every moment, is either at war or at peace. And it doesn't matter which person in the dyad, which being makes a loving gesture, but that is how you get rid of the label. So in the movie, one of the unfortunate kids who bumped the old lady, turned out the old lady had moved in next door to him, and his mom cornered him and took him over to meet the new neighbor. And when they saw each other, they recognized each other. And the new neighbor didn't say anything to the mother about where she had already met the son. But turned out that the new neighbor was a retired teacher. And the mother said, oh, my son's having a lot of trouble in school. Would you be willing to tutor him? And the and the kid, of course, practically died right on the spot.
Right. I didn't see it on Wednesday, but I have seen it.
You have seen it. Okay.
Yes.
And what happened was that the teacher, the kid was really nasty. Everything, he really resisted everything until the teacher realized that, okay, he didn't really like to read, and showed him a comic book from her late husband's collection. And the kid was overwhelmed to see an old comic book in mint condition. And that started a friendship. And so the next time that kid was with his friends on the street and saw the old lady, the neighbor, who was now this kid's friend, he couldn't join in making fun of her. He went and helped her. And it was all because that connection in kindness had been made, that she had understood that he was missing his father, who had died, and he was feeling very sad and alone and vulnerable. And she figured out something that would get his interest, and she shared openly with him. And it made a huge difference to him, not only right then in that moment, but in later moments. I am sure that, I know for me, there have been many people in my life when I was younger who were that teacher, who were kind to me, and who, really helped me to learn how to be kind to others, because that hadn't been my home experience. Can you think of somebody from your early life, Lisa, who really made a big difference to you?
When I was maybe 4 or 5, we had a new neighbor who moved in, and she was a preschool teacher, and I was older than most of the kids that she went with, and I was very precocious. You would never think that, right? But so I would go over and I would show her my Sunday school lessons, and I would show her what I was reading, and she was just so nice and interested in me, as opposed to the neighbor on the other side who had 3 children of her own and had no interest in spending any time with me whatsoever. So yes, it helped me understand that people are in different places in their lives. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so in fact, before this lady moved out, she gave me a teeny tiny ring on a necklace, and I still have it.
Yes.
So she made a huge impression on me about spending time with other people, even if it's not particularly convenient for you or they're slightly annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There was a family in France when I was a student there. It's hard being a foreign student. It's really challenging to get through the label of being an American, in my case, and being able to relate to people as a person. And I didn't understand about kindness back then, but I did make a friend, and her family was so kind and inclusive to me that it helped me tremendously to begin to be able to be a person and not just a foreigner in France, to be able to make real friends. And there were a couple of families that did that, a couple of my friends' families, and I have appreciated them all my life. because they saw me as, you know, a lonely foreigner, somebody who needed a family. And I did. And I really appreciated their helpfulness. I can think of other people too who sort of took me into their hearts and were kind to me. And it made a huge difference in who I became because I experienced their kindness. So this is, you know, something that's been really important in my life. And the expression pay it forward is one that I really like. That, you know, what I've benefited from in my life, you know, usually by the time you realize that kind of kindness that you've received, the other person, you know, you both moved a long way. You know, their life has, it's been 10 or 20 years, and the older people are not in the same place anymore, nor are you. Often they have died in the interim. So where do you pay it back? You don't. You pay it forward. And look to, okay, who can I meet now that I can do that same favor for? And I've heard it said that life is just giving and receiving, not to mention constant change, which I think is true. So that's, you know, having a heart at peace really means being willing to give and to receive, to be a part of the energy of loving. And I think that that is one of the biggest gifts of having studied this book, is having had a chance to dig in and observe and learn with the story. You know, how all of us in our lives every day interact with people that we are more or less kind to. And the more aware we can be of how kindness is powerful in making peace, in creating peace. Kindness, forgiveness, gratitude are probably the three behaviors that lead most directly to peace between people and within people. And it's not rocket science. It basically is, you know, ordinary willingness to participate.
What I liked as I was reading the book, and I particularly enjoyed the appendices or extra parts at the end.
Yes, which is what I'm going through now.
Right. I really liked them. But what I noticed was that I don't know about most people. I know that most people that I have met seem to be reacting to what's happening, not considering or not being proactive, or, you know, but just reacting in the moment immediately, without thought, without consideration of the other person as a person, without consideration of the results of whatever is being said or discussed. I think that was so obvious in the story. And it came across to me as, do I do that? And yes, I do that.
We all do that.
But I think it has made me say, okay, wait a minute,
Mhm.
Step back here. Let's see. Let's not consider so much what was said as what was behind what was said, what circumstances led to that, what I can take away and switch to being kind.
Mhm. Good.
So
Very good thinking.
I love this book.
Yeah. Well,
My husband is now on chapter 4.
Oh, good. You
So I
actually got
told
him
him to
interested.
read the book.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I also told my therapist about the book, and I said, this book is helping me as much, if not more, than the dialectical behavioral therapy book that we're reading. And they're very in line.
Yeah.
With mindfulness, and I mean it's very in line with all the other things that I'm doing and thinking and reading.
Mm-hmm.
So that's serendipity at work.
Certainly is. Yes.
And so it's helpful, and I really love the book. So I'm spreading it around. Yes.
Good. Excellent. That's peacemaking in a way. Yeah. It's giving other people the opportunity to really deeply consider. And emotional reactions are often not very helpful if they're negative.
Right. And I think you have to sit and say, okay, is this coming from a place of authoritarian? Is like, I'm right because I'm right? Is it coming? I mean, there's a lot of people that's their basis for everything they do. And
that's hostility.
It's made me sad for them.
Yeah, well, right. Appropriately.
Because, you can't be right because you're right. That's not.
Well, it takes only you as an individual into consideration. Right. And that's not who we are. We're not just ourselves.
So it helped me understand authoritarian personalities as opposed to authoritative. Mm-hmm. An authoritative personality would have, I believe these things because of this, this, and this, but they also would listen to what you have to say.
Yes, exactly. And know that everybody has beliefs, has very strong beliefs based on what we've experienced in one way or another.
You might have to bend.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me how the mind works regarding beliefs. Because when we encounter a different belief, one that we don't have at this moment, but somebody else clearly does, we have to process it. And we need to ask the question, is this real? Do I need to expand my beliefs? So anytime, for instance, and this may have been a part of the last class that we did, whenever someone is kind to someone else, and that the someone else hasn't been very nice, they know they don't deserve to be treated kindly. But if you treat them kindly, don't say anything, just you're kind to them. Eventually, they have to confront the cognitive dissonance. We all have to process cognitive dissonance, and either change our beliefs or reject the thing that's causing the dissonance. And in the case of kindness, which is love, we are so hardwired to need it. We can't discount it.
Right.
And,
I've been called all kinds of things, like naive, especially I've been called naive. I am not naive. I choose to be kind. I choose to expect the best of other people. I choose those things. That's not naivete.
No,
it's a choice.
It's a choice.
And, yes, I may get hurt and I may get slapped down a lot, but I still will choose that because that is who I am. And I have to be true to that. So other people have to be true to who they are. But I think I form a catalyst in that by being me.
Yeah, absolutely. Challenging people in that way, challenging people through kindness, is actually a wonderful thing to do.
Yep. It's like, no, I know that the world is rotten. I know that. I live in it. I mean, really, I'm not naive. I'm just making a choice.
Yep. Yes.
So
I'm glad you're making that choice. Those choices.
It's not always easy. It's not always easy to have people point out, here's the weaknesses in your argument. These people cannot be that way because they're, and then there's all the things like, it's like, you should hate them. I was like, I will not. And I put will in a big box. I will not hate. It's against what I believe. Period. It's period. I will not hate. I will want to correct. I will want to inspire. But I will not hate.
Because hatred corrodes you.
Yes.
First.
It's just not. It's not a part of what I want in me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I'm like, I will listen to anybody's argument as long as they want to make it, which also has been called naive or wishy-washy. Or I will change my mind. That's wishy-washy.
Not necessarily.
But
it's because when you learn something new,
it's like,
that's what it means, changing your mind.
But I'm not going to change what I consider to be good in me to fit somebody else's opinion of what good means.
Right.
I have my opinion, and my opinion is based on a lot. So it would take a lot to change.
Yep.
But, I think that things usually work out for the best for me because of that kind of decision making.
I agree. Because you're choosing the best each time.
Right. So maybe I don't have as much money as I could have if I chose something different. But money is not, as long as I have enough to live on, I don't think money is all that important to me.
Right.
But, I'm not willing to compromise certain things in order to get ahead. So, I'm not ambitious, which is not true. I'm ambitious in my way.
I know it's not true. Whatever desire we have, that's our desire. It's
right.
Legitimate.
Yeah, and it's my ambition is to spread peace, and that's what I'm going to do. That's not getting ahead the way many people think getting ahead is.
Well, there are a lot of ways of getting ahead.
Yeah, but I'm not all that interested in their ways of getting ahead.
Right.
I'm interested in learning all I can learn from pretty much anybody I can learn from, and being open.
Mm-hmm.
And if people want to call that naivete, I feel bad for them, not for me.
Yes. Okay, so that is one of the basic lessons of the heart at peace, heart at war dichotomy, which is so basic about, our habitual way of being in the world. And some of it sort of becomes a habit, I know people that, they're just automatically grumpy. And I think they'd be a lot happier if they focused on being kind instead of grumpy by habit every time they met somebody or participated in a conversation. But hey, that's my belief, obviously not theirs. And there are people that have decided they're okay all by themselves, but not with anybody else. Which I think we can fairly easily feel. But when you come right down to it, it's not true. We actually need to be part of a community. And we're much happier if we're connected. And we can choose to not be happy. And some people do. We don't have the right to force them to change. They have a right to decide, okay, I'm much better off when nobody is bothering me. It's really sad. But they don't see it that way. They see it as they're independent. And people have a right to their beliefs. So I'm just saying that in my experience, even though I'm kind of a loner, I've learned that, it's really important to be connected to other people and to need to put myself out and be kind, even when it's not convenient, that I end up being much happier inside. And that's my choice. So yeah, it's all about our choices.
And eventually those continued acts of kindness become a habit you don't have to think about anymore.
That's right.
And I would much prefer that as a habit of being angry all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It feels better. That's the ultimate, the ultimate knowing is whatever feels better actually is better. And paying attention to that and knowing that, okay, it's good to feel good. It's healthy, it's fun, it gives you a better life. It seems very naive, yes, but why not? So, for next Friday, I want to move forward and talk about this, what they call the influence pyramid, which is also in the book. It's in the appendices, and it's also in chapters 2 and 22. You'll also see this pyramid of, which is about how do you engineer a situation so it's going to work better, rather than spending your life feeling bad about how things are. You can actually engineer the way things are so that they lead to more kindness, more peace, more love, and more happiness. So I will look forward to discussing the influence pyramid next Friday. And thank you very much.